I see people joining. I am so excited for tonight's conversation. We're going to give folks another minute or so to jump onto the Slack and to get this going live on Facebook. But as people are joining, please do introduce yourself in the chat. Make sure you change your settings to all panelists and attendees so that everybody could see. Let us know your name, if you're a campaign, what you're running for and where you're running. If you're just a volunteer, not just a volunteer, if you're an incredible volunteer, what campaigns you're working with. But we want to know who's here. So please do introduce yourself. Make sure to change your settings to all panelists and attendees. We want to know who's part of the call tonight. If you hear my dog scratching and barking in the background, this is the life we lead. I hope you'll bear with me. I see a few folks I recognize. It's so good to see people who've joined us for every session this summer. I am really thrilled. We'll give folks another 30 seconds or so to jump on. Let's see. I see Candace, I see Tyler, I see Audrey in Portland who's still figuring out what to run for something. That's great. We're gonna help you figure it out. Tracy, thinking about running in the future, incredible. Continue to introduce yourself. Make sure to change your settings to all panelists and attendees. We are gonna get started because we're gonna aim to cut this off right at 7 o'clock East Coast. For those who are new to the Run for Something community, my name is Amanda Littman. I am the Run for Something co-founder and executive director. This is our last and final episode, season, show, conversation of our Armchair Chat series, which we've been running all summer long. Armchair Chats are 100% free master classes with experts in the field, helping you figure out how to run your campaign. The reason that we're able to keep all of these events 100% free is because of our amazing sponsors. So on our very last one, I want to thank Act Blue, AFSCME, Authentic Campaigns, Fireside, Claire and Stephen Crouppen, Onward Together, Yelp, Precision Strategies, and Planned Parenthood for their generous support. We're able to do this for the nearly more than 1 million people who viewed these over the last 10, 11 weeks because of their generosity. So thank you to them. Tonight's conversation is about video storytelling. And at a moment in the cycle or in the communications effort, videos are the heart right now of a digital campaign strategy. I am going to very quickly introduce our panelists and then mute myself so you don't have to hear sweet Sadie barking. First, you're going to hear from Taylor Behnke, who is a digital strategist and video storyteller. Then you're going to hear a little bit from Allan Piper, the senior politics producer at NowThis. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, give you a little bit of introduction to video storytelling as they see it, and then we'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions while they're talking, please do drop them into the Q&A function in Zoom or in the comments on Facebook. We'll be checking there as well. Taylor, take it away.
Great. Hi, all. I'm Taylor Behnke. As Amanda mentioned, I'm a digital strategist. I have a YouTube channel and have for the past 10 years, which is how I got into this, was vlogging in college for a hobby. However, my channel is mostly social change and activism based, and having that as a sort of a living portfolio is how I got into digital strategy, and now my day job is helping campaigns with digital. So I've kind of, been on, I've had some of the same goals that you have, but also had some of the same realities of, what do I do alone in my room to create video? So with a few minutes here, I want to share with you, I know a lot of folks are going to be eager on this call tonight to learn things like what kind of camera do I need to buy, or what length of video, or where should I be posting it? Before we get to any of those questions, if you walk away with one thing, I really want to impress upon you that the first thing you should be thinking about is pre-production. And pre-production requires no equipment or technological expertise of you. It just requires you to ask yourself a bunch of questions. So those questions are, before you're ever turning on a camera, what's the purpose of this video? I think that's something working in digital, I hear a lot is like, oh, should we get on TikTok because that's the cool thing now? Before you're asking those questions, what's the purpose? Are you trying to let your voters get to know you, get to see your personality since you can't, go shake their hand right now? Are you trying to convey information to them like, what are the new and changing vote by mail laws, you know, where you are. Are you trying to, something I really like using video for is modeling an action. So, you know, I live in New York. We recently had kind of a big budget fight for, you know, shifting budget away from the NYPD. And so I made a video and I posted on Twitter of me calling my city council reps and showing people, hey, I still get a little nervous and my voice shakes and it's totally fine. And it took me 30 seconds. And here's what I said. So think about kind of what you want this video to accomplish. Then you can start thinking about, you know, where you want to put it. And that sort of relies both, where are your voters going to see it? If they're not on TikTok, you don't need to be on TikTok, but also what you're comfortable with, what you know. If you like sit and scroll through TikToks till 2 a.m. and, you know, every night like I do, that might be a place that feels good for you. What do you watch? Where do you watch it when you're just watching, you know, videos for fun? Are you watching it on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube? Because what you look at is what you know, right? It kind of takes getting used to the language of what videos look like and what works well on different platforms. And probably the best kind of gauge of that is, what do you like to watch? So you can get creative with that, right? Like you can do a simple hold up your phone, direct to camera, let's tell people, you know, about the action I want them to take. But, you know, if you really like watching makeup tutorials, do a get ready with me and talk about, you know, what you want your voters to help you do. If you like gaming, like do a Twitch stream of it. But like whatever you like is what you are going to be, I think, enthusiastic about making, and that's going to make it a video worth watching. So you've asked yourself, you know, what's the purpose? Where do I want to put it? Then spend some time thinking about what you're going to say, especially if you're going to be going live rather than editing something and posting it. When I post a video, I script out word for word what I'm going to say. That's not necessarily going to work for everybody. You might want to make a list of bullets. Like, I mean, I have one right here in front of me. But you know, figure out what you want to say. Make sure that, I think something that tends to happen when people just turn on a camera for the first time is they get rambly like I am now, or repeat themselves a lot. So make sure that you kind of, you know where you're going and know when to land the plane. And then, you know, once you've kind of gone through all of that pre-production, then it matters less what technology you have, how good your lighting is, as long as you kind of have a clarity of purpose and a clarity of message. So I will end it there and turn it over to Allan.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I'm Allan Piper, senior politics producer for NowThis. I suspect that folks here are familiar with NowThis, but we are a video news outlet. In fact, we're the #1 news outlet on digital devices. We reach about 70% of Americans in their 20s on a monthly basis, and that is really important because, as I think this group knows and appreciates, young people are the voting bloc that are going to be essential to all elections moving forward. We saw in 2018 that the three younger generations, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, outvoted the Boomers, Silent Generation, and the Greatest Generation. And that's going to be, by all indications, the pattern moving forward. Young people are incredibly engaged, and it's essential to reach them if you want to win campaigns. And video is I believe that it is the most powerful persuasive tool that is available to almost anyone. I mean, obviously in politics and probably everything else, the most powerful tool is in-person communication. But short of that, video is the closest thing that you can have to that, since except in very small districts, in most instances, a candidate cannot meet every voter. especially not even in small districts now in an age of COVID. There is no way to do that. So video is this powerful tool, and it's been a tool that has been largely only available to well-funded campaigns in the past, because the video outlet used to be television advertising, but social video obviously has changed that completely. And I think about a very striking moment for my own experience at NowThis involved a candidate that came in at the end of 2017 looking to launch a campaign, an extreme long shot campaign to unseat a very powerful member of Congress. And she had never run for office before. And she just came into our studio and told a very powerful personal story about why she thought that her district needed something other than what it had been getting. And this was AOC. We were one of the first video outlets to highlight her. And she didn't have the massive infrastructure that a powerful incumbent member of Congress had, but she had a powerful personal presence that she was able to communicate through video. And then not long after our video, she made a absolutely gorgeous campaign video that also went viral. And those two videos were absolutely instrumental to her being able to compete with someone with decades of history and the full support of his party behind him. So I think that's very exciting. Obviously, I don't want to oversimplify the. Not everyone can just make a video and get it out to everyone. Just like, not everyone can be president, but one day. But just like we say, anyone can grow up to be president, and clearly that's been proven to be true. As we say that, anyone in theory can create a viral video and can compete with the most well-funded candidates in the world.
I think that's a perfect place to start. We have a question here from Audrey about whether it's better to be scripted or live, which I think is definitely something I'd love both your thoughts on. And more broadly, how do you decide what makes for an effective video versus another way of making content, or another form of content, rather? Taylor, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm going to have a really unsatisfying answer, which is it depends. One, with kind of what you're comfortable with. If you are not super comfy speaking extemporaneously at length, don't go live. If you don't have any resources to be able to edit a video, either yourself or a volunteer, someone to do that for you, maybe that's your option, or just rehearsing a lot and doing a short video in one take. The other kind of pro and cons that occurred to me immediately is kind of what kind of shelf life you need this to have. So the great thing about a live video is you can have some kind of real-time interaction. You can do something like we are doing right now, like with your volunteers, have a Q&A training call with them and be able to kind of interact with them one-on-one. That said, that's not something, if you talk to people live for an hour, that's not something that somebody else is going to come along later and sit down and watch that hour-long old live stream, likely. So unless you're AOC's Instagram lives. But if it's something that, you want people to be able to share with each other, or, kind of pass around and have a long life, like it's, hey, here's 30 seconds on what you need to be able to do to request your absentee ballot this year. That's probably a case for, a pre-filmed edited video. Whereas, something interactive like taking voter questions or volunteer questions, or having an online town hall or something like that, that might be a case for a live.
Yeah, I think Taylor's said it beautifully. It's a case by case thing. There is something very exciting about live events, and that same live event shared later as our pre-recorded video lacks that. I mean, just imagine how exciting is it really to watch a videotape of improv comedy. Usually even worse than the live improv comedy itself. So it depends on the circumstance. Also, I think part of the question was referenced scripting, and I think that's something that, again, it's a case by case, person by person thing. If you are, and Taylor mentioned this earlier. Taylor, you said that you like to have a full script, or at least bullet points. Some people are most comfortable reading from a script. Some people are going. A lot of people, actually, I think most people probably do better with bullet points than an actual script. Most people tend to sound too scripted with a script, but again, it's a case by case basis.
As you think about one of the hesitations that I know a lot of our candidates have about creating a more edited video is the technological barrier. So for somebody who's never made a video before, or never made one that they were going to put out publicly before, what do you think are sort of the skill set 101 that they should start thinking about learning, and where might they seek out some of that professional development?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit, because I taught myself how to edit, with no formal training. But it also, has been a 10-year process. And so I'll say, I think the biggest barrier to entry is that a lot of what's kind of considered the industry standard software is just like incredibly expensive. So if you've already taken on, an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription as one of your costs to design flyers or whatever it may be, you have Adobe Premiere, and there's also Adobe Premiere Rush, which is kind of the baby version if you want to start somewhere simple. But if you don't have it, I wouldn't say it's worth it if you have no video experience, especially if you're in this cycle. Don't spend the next 49 days trying to learn how to edit in Premiere. If you have a volunteer who knows something about it, that's maybe where you can focus more energy. I have learned off of a lot of YouTube tutorials. There's so much freely available content of how do I get, how do I make this kind of a motion graphic, right? And then you do it the wrong way for 3 years until you learn that there was a much faster way you could have been doing it the whole time. So don't waste your energy on that. However, there's simpler software like Premiere Rush. Your laptop may have come with an iMovie or Windows Movie Maker. That's enough to put a little end card on there if you want to, give people a URL or something like that. Don't discount just practicing what you want to say a bunch and getting it in one take and keeping it short. If you do kind of go the route of editing, pursuing kind of some editing knowledge, or you have somebody who knows just enough to be dangerous, I will also volunteer. I'm in the Run for Something Slack. Ask me questions. But usually I just sort of recommend keep it simple, keep it short so that you can say it all at once, and it doesn't need to be super flashy.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel funny seconding that, because I come from a background of a lot of film training, and so I do always want to advocate for if you have the ability, hire skilled filmmakers and editors. I highly recommend it if you have the ability, even if you are seeking to produce things that feel very non-glossy. I still recommend, if you have the availability to do it, getting really skilled people. But if you don't have that available, well, and you know, comparing it to the AOC thing, her first video with us, she just walked into the studio, and that is my cat walking around in the background. It is unusual that she actually makes an appearance. This is Mew, the fluffy cat. She is very sweet. Anyway, so the first AOC's first viral video with us, she had no infrastructure for that. Fortunately, she had a compelling enough story that we felt that it was worth our covering. And by the way, if you have a compelling story, we are open for pitches at NowThis. We are always seeking to highlight candidates, particularly young candidates, particularly candidates who are groundbreakers in terms of diversity in your area. And so pitch us, and if you want to make a video with us, that's great. But anyway, so the second part of that is that AOC, after she was able to build some momentum, she teamed up with a very, very powerful filmmaking team to make that second viral video, and it was worth it. So I'm a fan of both, but to second what Taylor said, I think that if you have a powerful message and you just film it yourself on your iPhone and hit send, that is still a powerful message.
Allan, one question from the Q&A that I know our candidates have asked us a lot is like, how much should a good video cost? What is the right cost and what is being scammed?
Oh, wow. You know, I don't know exactly how to speak to that for a variety of reasons. I will say that even presidential campaigns use budgets that are substantially smaller than you would see in most areas of any sort of film and video making. A presidential campaign seems huge, but its film budget as compared to just like a low budget reality TV show, as compared to like an advertisement, as compared to like a feature film, you know, so I don't know. I think just as with anything on a campaign, figure out what your resources are and make your choices accordingly. I will say that if you, often you do get what you pay for. So if you are trying to make a very polished video, don't think that your neighbor's kids with their handycam are going to be able to do the same thing that and a company like Hardpin Media would be able to do for you.
If you are a Run for Something endorsed candidate and you're looking for professional help, you should definitely talk to your regional director, because we have creatives across the country who are looking to help campaigns like yours. So do reach out to us and we can connect you. Taylor and then Allan, I want to talk a little bit about consistency across multiple videos. You know, Taylor, you run a really beautiful YouTube channel, and Allan across the NowThis video series. How do you decide what makes something part of the brand? Like, what are the components you think about that make it consistent with what is a It's Radish Time video or a NowThis video?
Yeah, I mean, and this is something that's taken me years to pin down. I participated in a program sponsored by YouTube called Creators for Change, where they brought together a bunch of folks from across the world, and like we had like a branding camp. And so I'm like, I spent 3 days being like, who am I? What is It's Radish Time? But I think, you know, I don't want to be like super reductive and be like, be yourself. But I think for me, it's always been important that it be kind of voicey. Like, there is so infinitely much video on the internet to watch that if you are trying to make a video modeled after someone else, it's not really adding anything necessary. So I would say for me, it's sort of always been centered around, okay, what are my values, right? What do I want people to take from watching this and do? And for me, it's always been sort of centered around using storytelling to share experience and kind of build empathy toward the end of getting people to go organize their own communities. But it's always, my videos have always been centered around my story because my story is the only story that I have. Now it's different. They get to talk to all sorts of cool people. And so they can tell other people's stories, but the only story that I can tell is my story. So being able to say, okay, what would I want somebody else to do in their own life? And when is a time that came up in my life? And how do I tell the story of that such that somebody could watch that and go, oh, hey, maybe I relate to that piece of it. Maybe this applies to my life too. And then in the comments, I want them to tell me about that. So it's also very interactive. So I would sort of think about it that way is I think that my style is very low barrier to entry in that, you have your own story. How can someone relate to that and apply what you learned from an experience in your life to their own life or to an action that you want them to take?
And I'd say with NowThis, as Taylor mentioned, we have the good fortune to be able to tell a wide variety of types of stories, and we're happy when we're able to make videos that feel very different from other videos that we make. The consistent thing that we look for is powerful visuals and powerful stories, and that can mean a few things. An impassioned, a powerful visual can be something that is really, fireworks and, drone shots and whatever. That it can be that, but it could also just be an impassioned person speaking directly to camera. That is a compelling visual. And then story can be, it can be a narrative type story of this person did this thing, beginning, middle, end. But when I think of story, I think of it a little bit more broadly, like expressing a strong thesis or making a strong argument or case for something is a type of story telling. I think that, but I think that it's important that there be. This event tonight is called video storytelling. The story is important, and it is. I say that we are always eager to highlight candidates who are interesting. I will tell you that it is hard for us to do much for campaigns that come to us and say, "Hey, we'd like you to do a video on our candidate," and I say, "Great. What's your candidate's story?" "Oh, our candidate is running for this office." And that, there's in AOC, and it can be a personal biography. Biographies can be very powerful. But in the case of the story that AOC told us, it was just, I think my community needs this. My community isn't getting this. I think that I could get my community this. That is story. That is beginning, middle, end. That is something that we can work with.
There's an interesting question here in the Q&A, and I'm sorry there's no name attached, so I can't give it to credit to someone. But Taylor, you mentioned interacting in the comments, and Allan, you're but relatively newly on screen as a personality over the last couple of years. Best advice for how do you engage to dismiss the hate, and even more broadly, getting over the self-consciousness that comes with putting yourself on camera? How did you sort of conquer that or continually find yourself conquering that?
I could speak. So the the first part, or the second part rather, about getting used to your face, your voice, the only way around it is to just do it a lot. I sit and edit my own face talking, and like still sometimes like I'm like, oh, why am I doing this? But you get over it. I can do it on a plane now and not feel weird when the person next to me sees that I am editing my own face. Took years. You just have to do it over and over and over. To the point about how you deal with interaction, I have a pretty hard line about this, probably more so than you will have or than Allan has. Look, I'm a Black queer woman on the internet, and there are people who have channels that exist to send people to harass me. And so, you know, I really do not have any hesitation about removing a comment that is abusive. You know, if it is a threat, it's gone. Even now at this point, I won't tolerate somebody saying, I don't like the sound of your voice. Okay, goodbye. Like, I sort of treat my comment section as my living room, and if you wouldn't walk into my home and say that to me, you don't get to do it in my comment section. Now, I'm not accountable to voters, right? And so you may have people that disagree with you that you do want to engage with and you do want to have a back and forth with, even if they're not doing it in the best faith. But I would say don't be concerned about removing what is clearly abuse. It's not productive to anybody, and depending on where you post, like on YouTube, I take advantage of a feature where you can create a sort of a block list of words. So like, you know, certain things that I see and then have to delete, but certain things, like if you come into my comments and use a slur, I even have like, it's silly. Now there's like patterns where like, I just have the word vocal fry. If you leave a comment using the word vocal fry, it doesn't even get posted because I know that you're just here to complain about the way that a woman sounds. Yeah, I mean, if you do want to have, if somebody's trying to say, hey, I disagree with you on this policy position and you want to engage with that, fine. But if somebody's just there to tell you that like, they don't like looking at your face, like you don't need to entertain that.
And I would, yeah, just to second what Taylor said, with my own experience as a white man, I'm in a tremendous position of privilege. I am never, people are never going to feel that it is okay to attack me, to evaluate my appearance, to belittle or commodify me in the way that that they will to all women, and particularly women of color. And I'll have people say I'm stupid, and that's fine. That doesn't bother me. But yeah, so it's for, yeah. So that's my own privilege, and I'm aware of that, and I wish the world weren't like that. In my own work, I'm not a candidate, so I don't actually feel an obligation to change minds. If you're making videos for your own candidacy, that may very likely be something that you want to do. You may want to engage with someone who disagrees with you. I don't have time to spend a lot of time on comments. I try to. A lot of my on-camera stuff is fact-checking the president's events, and I invite people to tweet questions at me, and I do my best to answer questions because as a journalist, I want to help complete the pie of information. So if you watch something, you don't understand something that you watched, I want to answer the question. I almost never engage in an argument with a stranger because you don't know who's even a real person there, and the odds of I said that I think video is one of the most powerful tools of persuasion. I think arguing in the comments is probably the least powerful tool of persuasion that exists. I think it is slightly more effective to simply stand in your closet and scream, because it is possible that your upstairs neighbor could hear you and change his mind, whereas the person you're arguing with in the comments is not going to.
That's an incredible point. And that also, I'll add that you can use your comment section to model the kinds of conversations you want to have. Mine, because I don't engage with people that are there to be abusive, and I do engage with people that are there to have a conversation. So it'll be like, you know, hey, what's something that's going on in your community that you would like to change, and how are you approaching it, right? And if somebody says, oh, I got involved with this local volunteer organization and we're doing this, but we're kind of stuck here. And then, I'd say, oh, that's really cool. In my experience, I've done this, or has anybody else, dealt with this kind of a problem? And then we get these really, really good, productive, supportive discussions. And then when you go to my video and you scroll down, that's what you see. And so people who want to engage in that kind of a conversation are like, oh, great, I've got a place here, or I've got an entry point. Sorry, there's children screaming in my backyard. But they don't see people fighting about Trump, right? So if you are kind of quick to ignore or dismiss people that are there to be argumentative, and you model sort of fostering conversation with people that are worth having a conversation with, that tends to bring in more of what you want.
I think that's so beautiful. You have talked a little bit about YouTube, Allan. I know NowThis is across all platforms. And Taylor, you're also on TikTok and somewhere else?
I'm everywhere broadly, but YouTube is my main platform.
As you guys think about videos across different platforms, when you make one production, one piece, do you cross-post it elsewhere? Do you revise it for one place over another? How do you think about the connection between form and platform?
Well, on NowThis, as you said, we are on almost every platform you can think of. To make life easier for us, we try to keep the videos fairly similar. But I mean, obviously, something created for Snapchat is going to be different from something that's created for YouTube. Something created for TikTok is going to be very different. So we, within, I guess, on a case-by-case basis, based on what is necessary, we put stuff wherever we can put it, and we make what changes are necessary to put it on the platform that we're putting it on. And then there are some things, like, for instance, TikTok videos that just really can only exist in that format, and that's fine. That's where that exists.
Taylor, you got anything to add?
No. Yeah, so I would say, each platform has kind of its own idiosyncrasies about what works while there. Unless you have, your own whole digital team, or you are able to hire really smart professionals to do this for you, I would not worry about, what does the algorithm like, right? Because you'll drive yourself crazy, and also it'll change in 6 months, and then you'll have to start all over. So think about, like, especially, I hear questions a lot about, like, how long should a video be? Well, how long do you need to say what you need to say? And once you've decided how long you need to say, do you really need that long? One thing that I've seen over my time on YouTube is it used to be that the ideal video length was under 4 minutes. That's, you would watch kind of the viewership drop off steeply after that point. Now, 10 minutes plus is the ideal, right? But you might not have 10 minutes to of content. And to be honest, I think most people on YouTube do not have that much anyway. They just make a 3-minute video and they repeat themselves 3 times. So, if you are doing, the one thing I will say is, if you are doing something live, so say you go live on Instagram, or you go live on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or whatever, you can, if you want that, some part of that to have a longer shelf life, clip it out into something shorter and say, okay, I talked for an hour. People really loved this 90 seconds of it. I'll clip that out and then I'll put that on Twitter, or I'll take that from my, Instagram live and I'll put it in my grid, right? So you can repurpose longer content into shorter pieces, if you have some very simple editing ability. And that's kind of a good way to make it fit in more places.
That's really smart. I also, just on the issue of length, one of the things that I think is striking, the stereotype, the public narrative is that young people don't have an attention span and you have to make everything short. And our finding on NowThis is that the reverse is true, that our viewers are looking for something substantive. And talking about how social video has changed the nature of video from political ad campaigns, it is so hard to say something deeply substantive in only 30 seconds. And minute-long TV buys are a rarity, and even a minute may be too short to say something really substantive. And so I think it is really encouraging that people, as long as the content merits length, the viewers are there and are eager to know more and to go a little deeper.
Who do you guys think does this well? Like, what videos do you watch, or what organizations or campaigns do you go back to when you see they have a new video to see what's up?
Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of our own videos, but I think it's been I look everywhere and I try to see what is interesting. I mean, that's a big part of actually what we do at NowThis is we create videos in-house, but we also look for videos to license or to repurpose and to highlight. So I'm always out looking for things, and I would just say very broadly that there are a lot of great creators out there.
Yeah, I would say I encourage you to watch things outside of other candidates making videos, just because I think it can be very easy, especially as Allan's mentioned, kind of the paradigm of what is a good TV ad, and people are often spending their video budget on a TV ad and then they'll also post it on Facebook, right? It may not be the right thing there. It might, but think about what you like to watch, or what people that you know like to watch in their free time, and see what could make sense for you. So a lot of what I do is I freelance write educational video. I write a series called How to Vote in Every State. I've done it for 3 cycles. We make 53 videos that are 3 minutes of here's the need to know, right? I've written a series about the federal court system. I just did a project with the Poynter Institute that's like a voter guide. So I think a lot about educational video, and there's a format for educational video online, which is like a person is really excited about volcanoes, and they're gonna, tell you about it, right? I always want people to think more cross-genre. So like you could do the same thing with political video, right? Like, what do you like to watch? An example that I used to give prior to kind of everything falling apart, the Bon Appetit YouTube channel with the cooking videos, before we found out that they were very racist, everybody loved them. And they loved them most people were not watching that to learn how to cook a recipe, right? They were watching it because they enjoyed the characters. So think about who do you enjoy watching, and what is it about them that you like? And then, what do you get excited about? What do you like when you're talking to your friends? What do you get really animated and engaged in? And is there a way that you can apply that to making video? I'd say this is much more, I am shooting something on my phone, or I am going live, than I am hiring a team of professionals to produce a video for me. If you are hiring a team of professionals, talk to them and take their advice. They will help shape your story. But if you're trying to make something, you know, kind of DIY, you know, what do you like to watch? What gets you excited to talk about? And then like, what can you do that thing while you're explaining to people how to phone bank for you? You know, I think you will be watchable if you are excited about the thing that you're doing.
Do you know of any places, either of you, for folks who are looking for training on digital storytelling, you know, outside of YouTube, which is our ultimate master in the universe? Places people can go if they're wanting to learn more about how to do this right, or alternatively books that they might think about reading or podcasts they might want to listen to?
I think I'm a big believer in learning by doing. I'm also a big believer in film school, and so it's funny because I feel torn with this idea of encouraging people for the DIY thing, and you don't need a lot of high tech stuff. But I think that film school courses teach you a lot, and I am grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten. In my own film experience, also, I learned a tremendous amount volunteering on other people's projects, on short films, on volunteering at a local cable station. So I think there are, I think, hands-on opportunities if you want to learn more about the craft of filmmaking. Hands-on opportunities are the way to do that. If you want to learn more about storytelling, stories at the heart of anything, and it's not necessarily specific to video. There are a lot of great books on the craft of storytelling, on the craft of writing. Stephen King has a marvelous book on the craft of writing called On Writing. There are a lot of people. So go to see the stories that you like, see where the people who created those stories, whether they're written, visual, see where they learn to write, or see if they have written or blogged or podcasted about how they got to do what they did.
Yeah, I'll share technical side of things. It is really, Alan, I think you're exactly right. Like, hands-on experience is where it's at. I learned to edit video by editing video and doing it wrong for a long time. And I will say, like, having learned from a lot of YouTube tutorials, or there's a resource called Lynda, Lynda,
yeah.
Online courses, you probably, if you have a library card, have free access to it. Watched a lot of those videos, but then like my learning of how to edit went like exponentially when I started dating a professional Vox video producer. And we would sit down together and she would show me how to do all of the things in After Effects. So like, if you know someone that you can sit down with or screen share with, and as you try to put something together, that will be much faster. But I've done it the slow way too, and I got where I needed to be. Content-wise, I ran and grabbed a book that I really like. It's called Long Story Short. It's by Margot Lightman. This is actually a guide to like live storytelling. So if you've ever like listened to the Moth podcast, I think Margot is actually like part of the Moth cinematic universe. But it's for like on-stage storytelling. That's how I learned to tell stories on YouTube, is watching a lot of and listening to a lot of live storytelling podcasts. And those people do it in 5 minutes with no editing, right? So that's probably a great guide for you. Yeah, the Moth, the StoryCorps podcast and videos are really, really great. Good modeling for if you are speaking to someone, if you don't want to just sort of be direct to camera, if you want to have a conversation with someone, how to have a good conversation that tells a story. There's also a great sort of personal essay writing course online that you can find from Ashley C. Ford that I've watched, is really great. She's sort of talking about how to write a personal narrative essay in written form, but you could use the same kind of format to tell a story via video.
Oh my God, you just added like 7 things to my reading list. This is so helpful. A lot of campaigns think about videos really primarily in the form of TV ads and paid advertising more broadly. As you think about the difference between what you might call like organic and paid, and you were talking to a hypothetical state legislative candidate, would you have any advice for them as they think about their strategy in terms of advertising and when to use video for paid, when to use it for organic, how to integrate it into their communications plan? Just asking you to be a campaign strategist off the top of your head, no big deal.
Well, my own experience has been much less with paid ads and much more with more longer form social, longer in this context as compared to ads, a minute plus. So I'm much more versed in the social video. I feel, I mean, a great ad is a great ad, and I've seen many great ads, and I think there are some being run in this cycle. I do think that there is a high threshold of resistance to ads. People are tired of being sold things, period. And that is probably especially true when it comes to political figures. And so I think that obviously the impact of ads can't be understated. Obviously, you have the ability to target who will see them, and so you can force them to be viral. But I think that social video has, in most instances, has more ability to actually change people's minds. If I think of a video that we did at NowThis, I mean, maybe it's not an ideal example in the end because his candidacy didn't go exactly the way he wanted, but Beto O'Rourke made some wonderful campaign ads, but no paid ad that he did equaled the impact of the impromptu speech about why players kneel and why he supports their right to kneel. That was a 50+ million view viral video that NowThis was fortunate enough to be able to be the primary outlet for. And I think that the powerful thing about that is that the moment felt real because it was real and it had an impact that no ad ever could. And frankly, when he runs for another office or does another thing, whatever it is, people are going to know and respect and connect to him because of moments like that more than any ad that he could have run.
Yeah, I'll also add that having, it's not quite the same, but having, done a few projects where this is sort of a common model where we'll work with a brand and they'll say, great, you can make a video and post it on your channel, and then we'll recut it, or we'll run it as an ad, or we'll run an ad of you making the video, in the case of the project that I did with Adobe. And it's like looking at the view duration of a video that I post on my own channel versus a video that I appear in an ad. It's like, my audience that I've, worked to build over time organically watch almost all the way through right until I'm, doing my kind of outro spiel. An ad is like 3 seconds, huge drop off, because as Allan said, nobody wants to watch an ad. And if it's auto playing in their feed, they're going to scroll right by. I mean, that's the big lesson of like every media company pivoting to video, right? Is, Facebook inflated the idea of how long people were watching something that they were actually really just scrolling by in their feed. If you have the budget, as Allan said, to get like one really nice video produced by a professional team that knows what they're doing, maybe that's something to put paid behind. But also say, if you get a chance to work with a team that does, I would try to seek out people who kind of have a more digital first mindset for video rather than old school TV folks, and say like, hey, I want this to live, I want this to be something that I can use both for paid and organic, and let the experts create something that will work in both of those contexts. Would I put advertising dollars behind a direct-to-camera iPhone video of you explaining how to get your absentee ballot? No. You know, if you have the ability to put some money behind the production of it, it might make sense, but like maybe invest in one of those and then kind of rely on your own skill set or volunteers or, you know, local film students. Again, you get what you pay for. It's not going to be the same as a seasoned team, but it might be better than what you can do on your own, and to kind of do the rest.
And also, and again, and I don't want to downplay the importance of advertising, nor minimize the work that people do in that. But I think also we've seen in presidential politics, we have seen that consistently the candidate, no one spent more than Michael Bloomberg in the primary on ads. And then shortly behind him was Tom Steyer, and they didn't have, it didn't work out for them as they had hoped. Consistent in the previous election, Bernie Sanders outspent Hillary Clinton on advertising and lost the primary. Hillary outspent Trump on advertising and lost the general election. It's more complicated than that. She won the popular vote. There was equivalent to advertising in the fact that anytime he spoke anywhere, every camera covered him. So it's not a perfect analogy. But then prior to that, Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush both spent more money on advertising than Trump did, and they lost. So it is, I guess the good news in all of that is that this myth that money buys elections, it buys many of the things that contribute to winning elections, but it cannot by itself win elections, and advertising alone can't do it.
Anytime you get to dunk on billionaires trying to buy elections, I'm into it. We are running short on time, so Allan and Taylor, if folks want to follow your work or get in touch or learn more, what's the best way they can do so? Allan?
All right, well, NowThis exists on just about every platform. We're NowThis on Twitter, we're on YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, multiple Facebook pages. We've got NowThis General News, NowThis Politics, NowThis Her, NowThis Entertainment. If you have questions for me personally, you can tweet them at me at apiper13. As I said, I will not argue with you, but if you have questions, I will try to answer questions. And then this isn't about me or my organization, but I just want to say in as emphatic terms as possible to, if you're able to vote early in person, do it that way, and tell your friends and your family and strangers that you run into to do it that way as well.
Yes, so you can find me on all social media platforms at It's Radish Time, radish like the vegetable. It's a very old screen name. My audience is now attached to it. I keep trying to change to my name and they don't want to see it go, except for on TikTok. I'm my real name. So you can find me on any of those platforms. Tweet at me, comment on my YouTube video. I respond to all of them unless you tell me I have vocal fry. Or I'm in the run for something Slack. Taylor Behnke, send me a DM.
I would be remiss if I didn't say Taylor is one of our longtime and incredible Run for Something volunteers. She has spoken to so many of our candidates through the outreach process, and this organization would not be, this organization would not exist in the same way without her. So we are very grateful for her. And Allan, thank you. The Armchair Chat series reached more than 1 million people this summer because of our partnership with NowThis. So we are very grateful for you, as well as for your team for promoting our candidates across all different channels. You guys to walk the walk when it comes to lifting up down ballot candidates, and we really appreciate it. If you liked this and you want to make sure we can do more of them, you can donate to Run for Something at runforsomething.net/build. If you're interested in more of our resources for candidates, resourcesforcampaigns.com is where to go. As always, you can shoot us an email, hello@runforsomething.net. We answer basically everything except, like Taylor, the bad faith efforts to be shitty. We're really grateful to all of you for joining us this summer for this incredible series, and we're going to be here to help you every step of the way if you decide to run for office or if you're currently running. So thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.